everyone, I'm here with Astro Chat for the month of November. So what this is me telling you the major transits and the full moon and the new moon for the month, that kind of thing, the major highlights for the month of November. If you want a more detailed forecast, what I do on my Patreon is I have every Monday, I have the Astro Report, which goes through like the moon signs for the week, all of the aspects for the week, that kind of thing, a lot more detailed sort of week by week. It would take too long to do all that for a month anyway. But this is just to help you with sort of like what's going on in the sky on a, on a more general type basis for the month of November. So, November. All right, so the first thing we have is right on the first of the month, we have Venus changing signs into Sagittarius. So she was in Scorpio. Venus is the sign that rules, the planet that rules our romantic life. It rules our sense of aesthetics, our sense of beauty. And so when she was in Scorpio, we were probably more into like spooky, dark, gothic looks. And then I always think of her as like dressed up as spooky and gothy when she's in Scorpio. She's going into Sagittarius, which is a more lighthearted sign, more fiery, just a little bit more sporty, a little bit more trendy. And when it comes to her love life, not so intense. So Venus in Scorpio tends to make us a little more intense, a little bit more aware of power dynamics, also, more sexual as well. That's kind of the stereotype. When she's in Sagittarius, she becomes more flirty, more fun, more interested in doing fun things, going out and doing something fun. So as we are going into November, she does change signs again later in the month. But for the most part, like up until American Thanksgiving, it's very much a time to just like sort of have fun in your love life, and also, have fun with your aesthetics as well, try new trends. Also a good time to just, go out and have some fun, do some fun things, especially with your art. If you are a creative person, it's a good time to just explore some new fun ideas out there. Next, we have on Tuesday, November 5th, we have Mars making a square to Pluto. So the caution with this, because Mars is all about competition, it's all about our will, our desire, but it also has to do with aggression, and it's squaring, which is a hard aspect, to Pluto, which is about power and transformation and change. And what this is saying is like, this is not a good time to make some big changes. If you rush into a change, if you, you might say or do something that you might regret. So it's saying be cautious. Don't like do something because you're fed up or you're angry or you're upset. The other caution that comes with this aspect is often associated with war or violence or aggression. And I'm speaking more on a global type scale, so kind of watch the news at that point in time. But basically, don't let your anger run away with you, or don't, do something that's sort of temperamental that you're going to regret. Friday, November 8th, we have Saturn making a sextile with Neptune on that day. So that's a really good time that whole week for gaining some spiritual awareness and insight. It's also a good time for if you're joining a spiritual group or you're looking to get more organized in that area. That's a really good week to do those kind of activities. November 12th, we have a full moon in the sign of Taurus. So full moons are always when the moon and the sun are opposite each other. So they're times of change, they're times of making decisions, they're times of, making a choice or trying to synthesize and bring a couple of things together. So Scorpio is all about the deep, the psychological transformation. It's about the spiritual as well. And so we'll be focusing on that for a large part of this month. However, the moon is saying you need to take care of the physical as well. It's all good to do all this shadow work and deep dive into things and whatever, but you need to eat, you need to go outside and be in nature, you need to slow down, you need to get some rest, that kind of thing. So it's a time when we're being asked to readjust. How are we caring for ourselves physically? What are we doing on a physical level for ourselves? And so that's a time to think about those particular things. On the 19th, also on that day as well, just, Mars has a sextile with Jupiter. And so it's a good time for planning, for long-term planning. It's a good time to start thinking about 2020 as well, or when you get to the full moon. On November 19th, Mars moves into Scorpio. Now, he's been in Libra since, I think, the end of September. He's been there. He usually spends about 2 months or so in a sign. And he's not super happy in Libra because Mars is a planet of competition, of desire, of will, of aggression as well. And Libra is about being in harmony and balance and is ruled by Venus. So when Mars is in Libra, this is often a time where people kind of, it's like the steel hand in the velvet glove, so to speak, the steel fist in the velvet glove, where people are being diplomatic, but they're holding back some of their aggression, or people might be a little more passive aggressive. So when he moves into Scorpio, he's a lot happier in Scorpio. In fact, he's the traditional ruler of Scorpio before the planet Pluto was discovered. So this is about intensity. This is Mars goes into Scorpio and things get more intense. It's like sometimes we're a little our way or like my way of the highway. It's very much like about like sexual energy. It's about power dynamics, all that kind of stuff. And so it's really asking us to work with those issues and to really like dive deep into those things and really take a look as well as like, where are we being too aggressive? Where are we being too bossy? Are we trying to manipulate people? Are we letting others manipulate us? What are the power dynamics going on in our lives? And what can we do to change those things? And Mars really challenges us to change things on a fundamental level and not just on the surface. So I'm going to show you from, these are what are they called? The Oracle of the Radiant Sun. So this is Venus going from Scorpio, which is secrets, and then she goes into Sagittarius, which is about flirtation, and we talked about her earlier. Now I'm going to show you Mars. So Mars in Libra, they have choice here. And Mars in Libra, like I said, really about diplomacy. That's why you have the rose here. This is really weird, the legs and the heart thing. I'm not sure what that's about. Balancing things out. Mars in Scorpio says revenge. Scorpios are famous for revenge, justly or unjustly. I think that it depends on the Scorpio you're talking about. But Scorpio has been known to like remember things forever and then pull it out when you're least expecting it. And I know this because my mother is a Scorpio. So when Mars goes into Scorpio, sometimes that's when Scorpios take their revenge. Or us in general, we all have a part of us that is Scorpio. You just have to look at your chart and see what house is ruled by Scorpio. So this is a time when sometimes issues of like past dynamics come up. Somebody may surprise you and be like, hey, remember when this happened? Well, I'm going to talk about it now. So be aware that those kind of things might come up in the next couple of months. So it's sort of like an accounting for things. Or you might be that way with someone else. Now, on November 20th, Mercury goes direct. Mercury starts in retrograde on October 31st. So I'm going to put this up on Saturday. So just a couple of days ago. I'm filming this earlier, but you know what I mean. It's called the astrologers are calling it the spooky grade because it starts on Halloween. But Mercury is going to be for a long time in Scorpio because what's happened is he spends about 3 to 4 weeks in a sign, depending. So he's gone forward all the way into Scorpio. He stopped on the 31st. He was almost at the end, and he's moving all the way back to near the beginning. And then on the 20th of November, he goes forward again. So we spend most of the month with a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. So he's really asking us to do some deep inner looking as well, because retrogrades, you know, they can be annoying as far as like things breaking down and travel delays, all those normal retrograde things. But you have to also look at where it is in your chart and what sign it's in. And because Mercury's in Scorpio, he's asking us to reevaluate things, to relook at things. And that's what retrogrades are really good for. So because Scorpio rules like things like psychology and transformation and spirituality, sexuality too, he's asking us to take a good hard look at those things and to say what's working for me and what's not working for me. So that's why it's a really good month to do some like shadow work, which is a nice term for personal assessment and psychological work on oneself. And so it is a really good month to do that. And especially with Mars moving into Scorpio as well, he's really asking us like, where do you get your buttons pushed? Where do you overreact? Where do you flip out? Where do you get upset at? Why? What do you need to re-examine? All that kind of stuff. So super fun month, eh? Anyway, it's good though. It's good in the long run. But he goes direct on November 20th. So we start to feel some less of those effects as we get into the end of November. On November 22nd, the sun moves into Sagittarius. So some of that intensity lightens up as we get to the 22nd. Sun goes in Sagittarius season is more about it's sort of that holiday season, right? It's about fun. It's about adventure. It's about enjoying ourselves. It's about not worrying so much about responsibilities. Now, on the negative side, sometimes that means that we forget about our responsibilities and don't take care of the things that we need to take care of, or the famous thing Sagittarius for, which is putting our foot in our mouth kind of thing. But generally speaking, there's a lightening of the energy. We're into the holiday season now and enjoying ourselves and having fun and not taking things so seriously. So also a good time to travel, to explore other philosophies, to visit people, to have other people visit us. So things start to lighten up as the month moves on. On the 24th, we have Mars opposite Uranus. So that's another day much like the Mars square Pluto on November 5th, where we have to exercise some self-control because, again, something may come at us out of the blue and sort of shock us. This is actually an aspect that's associated with electrical shock, fires. Not that I want to scare people, but just watch the news and watch, if you see sudden sort of weird events happening, they can happen around that time. So sort of sudden shocking things, but it's saying don't knee-jerk react to stuff. Don't take a sudden hard turn to another direction because it's not going to last and you probably regret it. On the 25th, Venus moves again. She moves into Capricorn, which is a bit more of a serious sign. She's not so flirty anymore. She's, if we think of Venus in the signs as her dressed in different outfits, she goes from Scorpio, where she's dressed all gothy and sexy, to like sporty, trendy Sagittarius. And then she moves into more classic, toned down, button up sort of Capricorn, which is a little bit more businessy, but also more classic, likes more, maybe not retro, but more classic type style. So searching through my Venus cards here. And here we have Venus in Capricorn has convention. We tend in our love lives too to be a little bit more traditional. Those with Venus in Capricorn tend to be a little more traditional, very monogamous, very like convention, tradition, order, that kind of thing in our romantic lives. And we want people to make a serious commitment, and we want to be committed to things as well, and we're willing to work hard on things. So it's not all, there's good things to it too. On November 26th, we have a new moon. This is another new moon in the sign of, this new moon's in the sign of Sagittarius. Is that right? Is that right? I feel like it's another new moon. No, it is in Sagittarius. Anyway, I wrote down Scorpio here and I'm like, it's not in Scorpio. It's in Sagittarius. And so this is a good time for us to make some intentions about what we want to do when it comes to things like what we want to learn in the new year, maybe travel, things that we want to do for the long term, things like travel, learning new courses, what we want to do for the long term to grow and to change in our lives. Or do we want to do some fun stuff? So Sagittarius, because Sagittarius rules things that are kind of like fun and travel, but also learning as well, and higher knowledge, philosophy, that kind of thing. So think about things you might want to learn, or how you might want to grow and expand yourself as we move towards the next year. And then on the 27th, we have Neptune going direct. So this is an outer planet. We tend to feel our planet movements less, but there is a movement towards expanding our sense of spirituality and our psychic development as well over the long term. So that's what I'm seeing for the month of November. Let me know your thoughts on sort of what's going on for November. It's going to be an intense month, but it does lighten up as we get towards December. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful month of November. And thank you so much for watching. And as always, peace and love.